Nancy Kerrigan. Welcome to Reflections Off the Ice. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to train, skate, travel, and grow up with some of the greatest skaters in history. We've all been interviewed by the press hundreds of times, but in a complete change of roles, this time I get to ask the questions, which was more fun than I ever imagined. Coming up are my discussions with Ty Babilonia, Randy Gardner, Kristi Yamaguchi, and Boitano. Among them, they have won dozens of Olympic, world, and national medals. They are the who's who of American skating, and good friends as well. In this show, we discuss their careers, the state of skating, and what they're doing now. I think you're going to like this rare look at some of the best performers from the world of figure skating, off the ice and off the cuff.
Every night I see you in my dreams, even though I know I can't let go.
Ty Babilonia and Randy Gardner have been skating together for over 30 years. In the late 70s and early 80s, they won 5 national championships and 1 world title on their way into the hearts of the American public. They were a team that expressed joy and the love of skating in their every move. If you have never seen an interview with Ty and Randy, you'll soon realize that not only are they great skaters, but they're great people too. Ty, Randy, you guys have been skating together since you were kids. How did you meet and become a team?
We were taken from the same coach. This was in Culver City, here in California, Mabel Fairbanks, as solo skaters. And the club show being held at the rink needed a pair team, not solo skaters, but there was an opening for a couple. And for some reason, who knows, only she knows, and she's not with us, you know, she's passed away, but she thought of the two of us. And what it was Dr. Doolittle.
I was Dr. Doolittle.
Dr. Doolittle, and I was his companion, his mate, and that's how it started. There was an opening in a club show, and she, you know, got us the slot, and this was in 1968, and we've been together ever since.
Wow.
I know.
So you didn't even, someone chose the two of you.
Yeah,
That's
our
amazing.
coach did, yeah.
Well, yeah, we were both skating at the same rink as those little, little kids, solo group lessons and private lessons, and then put us together, and that's kind of how it started with Mabel Fairbanks.
Yeah, a little bit of a struggle, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't go well at first.
Well, yeah, I mean, most people don't understand what it takes for a pair team to stay together. To what do you attribute your longevity? Not just as a team, but also to continue skating.
Understanding, being best friends.
Just compromise, like a marriage.
Compromise. Yeah, it is like a marriage. It's like, I mean, we try not to analyze it. You know, after 38 years, we just sort of let it be what it's going to be. It's so special, and it's a great friendship. He's my soulmate. It's like a you know, brother-sister relationship. It's like a marriage sometimes. Yeah, he pisses me off, and I piss him off. It's not fabulous all the time, but it works, and we respect each other. And I know, you know, I would never ever want to skate with anyone else. We
have experienced in our lives together, in our career together, a lot of life changes too. So our lives, personally and professionally, have gone through all kinds of, you know, peaks and valleys, and so it's made us closer and stronger as a couple, so to speak, than, you know, most pair skating teams. You know, you're lucky to see them for 4 years, if that.
Right.
So we've had a very long career, very fortunate, and it's been very beneficial to both of us as people.
And what, within that career time, would you say was your highlight?
I would say, well, you know, making our first Olympic team in '76, and we were very young, and we placed 5th, which was great. Winning the World Championships in 1979 was fabulous. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So some of those that weren't so high, what would you say the low point?
Well, I think the 1980 Olympics, when I was injured going in, we were World Championships from the previous year. Right. The games were in Lake Placid, of course, in the United States, and we were, you know, had a good chance of winning, and all that stuff. The press and the media buildup was there, and I got injured prior to the games and had to withdraw. So it was a pretty huge moment on television, and it had a lot of impact for a lot of people, and it was, you know, definitely a low part in the skating career. However, I had to get better first physically, And then we soon after turned pro and joined the Ice Capades. And so we were able to keep skating, which helped us get through it.
Right.
However, it's one of those unanswered questions. Would we have won it?
Yeah, who knew?
We never will know the answer.
But I think with what happened, people, I don't know, they saw that we were human. They saw that it didn't turn out the way everyone else in the world wanted it to turn out, and the press, and the, whoever. And they saw that Randy had a muscle that didn't work that night, and they felt for us.
Are there other Olympic moments that were special? I mean, just for me, I loved the parties. They were some of the best parties I'd ever been to,
Right.
and it was so interesting because I was very, very shy as a kid, and it's the first time in my life I noticed, like, in the dining area, I would actually go up and just sit next to somebody and start talking to them. I saw they had the same jacket, and I was like,
well,
I'm
we all have the same thing in common. We all have that same goal. We've all worked our butts off to get to that place, so everyone could relate to each other.
Right. So what was what was the fun part about it? Was there a fun
Well,
part?
Eric Hyde.
Could that be?
Eric Hyde, well, 1970,
Eric Hyden.
yeah, 1976 Olympics was our first one.
Yeah.
And we just won the national championships in figure skating. But we went to Innsbruck, did the games, but opening ceremonies,
Right.
you can't beat it.
And there's no, that year, there was, our first Olympics, there's no pressure.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just go and experience
You did
the
it.
whole, everything, and you just go out and skate and have a great time. 1980 was a whole different story. That's when we felt the pressure. But in 76, it was being able to see Dorothy Hamill win her gold medal, and John Curry win his gold medal. I mean, it was just so special.
A message from an angel.
What was your training like getting ready for the Olympics, and what did you have to go through? Because I'm sure it's different as a team because you need to do a lot of stuff, make sure you're always together.
Right.
If I all of a sudden go blank, I could just sort of do what I want to do, and
Right.
don't worry.
We can't improvise.
There's no improvising, so
Yeah.
what was that like?
Well, we had great training. Mr. Nix was really good with our training. It was the different things from the outside world and the media world that I felt, I'm not sure if you felt this, but I felt was an intrusion sometimes,
Yeah.
where they would have us mic'd and have me wearing sometimes a camera on my head and wanting all these, elaborate shots, and I knew that it wasn't right. I knew they were invading our space. And sometimes I would walk off the ice crying. Sometimes I would forget I was mic'd and say the wrong things, and the interview wouldn't get aired. But it was that intense. There was that much pressure from all the top stations. And at some point, and Mr. Nix was great with this. He knew when to cut it off. It's like, it's enough. Let these kids skate. This, you have no idea what they're going through, and what the training that they have to do to get to this point. So you got to get out. So he was good at that.
You also know when you're in that position, I know you know it too, going in, you could win a gold medal. And it might be your only chance and your only shot at it in your life. So you're building and building, and it's, it creates a lot of intense pressure when you're building up to it. And it's like do or die, kind of. But the flip side is you're trained to do that. That's what you do.
Right.
And you've done nothing else
Discipline.
since you were a kid. So, doing that's maybe not so unusual, but I think it's the daily part of that and the intensity of that high level
Right.
that can kind of throw you off.
Right.
Well, I have a lot of people come up to me and ask, like, oh, my kid's going to go to the Olympics in 2012. And I'm like, really? Oh, good luck. That's great. Because, there's 250 million people in this country, and, 1 or 2, or it depends on the sport, 2 teams go or something.
Right.
And,
No, they don't know.
It's unbelievable. Is there any advice you would give to people, Olympic hopefuls that maybe really are going there, or somebody that has that dream?
Well, it has to come from the athlete. It can't come from your parents. It can't. The coach can only give you so much. It has to come from in here, or else forget it. And I've seen too many times, especially with girls, because they're probably more vulnerable, where it becomes too intense, and the parents are pushing way too hard, and want it more than the skater, than the child. And it completely backfires.
Yeah.
So the kid ends up quitting.
And there's also, I've been coaching a little bit the past 2 years, and you really do see kids that have it and don't have it.
Right.
And it's interesting. You hope the ones that have it have the discipline to push through and do it, because you can really see. And then you also see the kids that maybe aren't so talented that work harder,
Right.
and they can overcome all the ones that maybe had more talent. But there is a definite, you are cut from a certain cloth to be an Olympic athlete. And I even know from working with adult beginner skaters that they didn't have it as a kid, but now they're having fun with it. But, and they may be good at something else, athletic, but they're not going to make the Olympics or the highest level. They're just good enough to have it as a recreational.
Randy, becoming one of the top choreographers, I'm lucky enough that I can say I've got to work with you a lot, and it's been so much fun. Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on?
One of my most favorite projects, the most interesting and learning experience for me was Footloose on Ice, the one that we did with you. Well, you know, we took the Broadway show and converted it to an ice show, which was great. And I liked the project because we started with the script and converted to an ice show and did this wonderful transformation. And it was interesting for me to take that challenge and do it. Plus, I like musicals.
That's my favorite, too.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, Footloose on Ice was a
Right.
good one.
Right.
You know, each thing you do, you learn from. So I have everything I do I really like, but turning points were Footloose. Some television specials I've done, just because they were different and there was a different hook to it. So.
I love when you choreograph for us. I know it's hard for you.
It's fun. It's fun, but it's
difficult.
hard to step away and be. As a choreographer, you have to
Right.
be really objective. You have to be like, you have to be not yourself and step out of yourself, because you don't know what the other person. You have to kind of become the other person for a minute.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And so yeah, so it's hard to choreograph for ties in my stuff. I mean, it's easy and it's hard. You know, like, I want to get, you know, what I would do for me.
Too self-indulgent.
Too self-indulgent, exactly. And just because it's comfortable for me doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
So I like when we work with other people as well. I don't have to work so hard. I can just sit there and take the information and try it.
Good idea. Okay, let's go.
And
Yeah.
B, it's beneficial, and you get to experience new stuff. And a choreographer can see you from the outside and be real objective. Like when I work with you, I know I can push you, like those little things did the other day.
I'm like turning the wrong direction
Exactly.
outside the circle.
I know you can do
but
it.
I can't do this.
Yeah, no, you can do it. So you know, it's like learning a math problem.
Nice to be pushed.
You just practice
Right.
it.
Olympics is just a few weeks away. How do you see the sport right now?
Nancy, there's a part of me that can't even relate to it, because when we were competing, we were happy to get a piece of jewelry. That was like major for us. We weren't allowed to receive any money, and whatever little, and it was little money, it went right into a fund. So with what the money these athletes and the skaters are making, and I know it's a lot. We all know it's a lot of money. You know, it's not hundreds of dollars. It's in the millions. There's a part of me that's I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that you can go out and buy a house or buy a car, whatever, for your parents. That's great, and you can support your career. But there's a part of me that I see when I watch on TV some of the skaters, not all of them, and I don't know if this is because of the money they're making, but I see that there's a focus. Something's missing. There's something, I don't see the consistent routines, and I don't see the consistent training. Some skaters look a little lazy to me, and maybe it's because, you know what, if I don't make it, I still get a check. I still make a little money, even if I don't place, or even if I don't skate well, I'll be okay. So there's a focus that I see is missing, and it makes me a little sad. But then again, on the flip side, you know, I think it's great because they can pay for their training. So I'm like this about it. I'm on the fence about it, but I'm just not seeing these consistent the great skating that we used to see in the 70s and the early 80s.
Yeah.
That is missing for me. That drive and the goal setting. That's me. I could be so off the mark, but that's what I see when I watch. I get nervous. It's weird. I'm like, when I watch, especially the pair teams, I'm like this. I'm so nervous because I don't know what's going to happen. I can't settle into anyone's number, anyone's routine, because it's just, you know, I see a lot of falling. I see a lot of mistakes. I see, once again, that lack of focus.
Which can lead to this whole new weird system, and to me, in some ways, it's weird because it's new, and I didn't have to compete with it. So it's like, whoa, it's like all foreign.
Yeah.
And if you fall, it doesn't always mean, you know, you're really dropping any places.
Yeah.
You're a caller for that, which means technical. You tell the judges what happens. Or
Technical call, or you're trained, and what you do is you give you call what they did technically. You name everything and document it, so to speak. And therefore, that goes into a computer, and each element has a numeric value. Then the judges, as we know them, get it on their screen, the technical things they did. Triple Lutz, a combination, a fall, name the spin. And the judges can only judge on what we give them, and they judge on how they did those elements. We call what they did, and they judge on how they did them. So a fall does actually matter because it becomes a zero. It's a zero. It means zero. You get no points in the computer. That's the numeric value of a fall. If I say double axel fall, it goes in as that, and it's a zero. So, and the judges see that. So they can say, well, maybe they tried it, or maybe they made it around, and the judges can sort of decide what the effort was. So maybe that can come in on the artistic mark. But
so the skater starts with no marks, and you build
Exactly.
up, as opposed to starting at 6.0.
and there's there's
And-
zero,
Yeah.
there's plus 1 point, plus 2, plus 3, then there's -1, -2, -3.
for each element.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like that.
Now,
I
do
know,
you think
I know.
that's what I was going to say? The audience and people at home have been confused with the scoring
Before, yeah.
forever already, and at least they were sort of used to hearing the numbers. But now, do you think it's going to help or be harder for them?
Well, I think the viewing public really has to be educated. I'm hoping that this coming year that the networks and the sports programming explain what it is. Because now they're only going to see a lump sum, 100 and something points for so-and-so. That's all it is. It's a lump sum. And I think the audience wants to know how it got there.
And do you have any predictions?
I'm a big Sasha Cohen fan, and I know she can do it. You know, she's come so close so many times, and I think she's ready. I think she's hungry. I think she's got that fire in her belly. She's focused. She's with a great coach, Mr. Nix.
Yeah.
So I know he's gonna.
John.
Yeah. Bad.
Very brave.
So that's who I'm pulling for, because I think she's wonderful. Not just, you know, being athletic. I think she's a beautiful, a lovely skater. She has it.
Yeah.
She has everything. So yeah.
What about for the pairs?
Well, I love all the Chinese teams.
Yeah.
And Zen and Zhao, I think someone's injured in that team, so I don't know how they're going to be.
Right.
Chinese team, because they're so wild and just have all this abandonment. Boom.
Right.
The Russian champions, Maxim and Tat, they're great too. They're very smooth, and they deliver. So it's hard to. Again, I think it's going to be who skates it that night.
Right. No mistakes. I would love to, say that there's a U.S.
Oh, I know.
pair team, but it's not. They're not there yet, and I feel bad saying that. And it's not a put down, but you got to stay together, and you can't start doing this switching of the partners after you don't have a good year. You have to stay together. At least give it 5 years. Don't get frustrated, and that's why you don't see any U.S. teams, up on the podium. It's sad. I would love to say, I'm for this team and that
True.
team, but I can't.
The heart wasn't there anymore.
I hope you're enjoying this inside look at 4 athletes who are among the greatest American skaters of all time. Up next is my interview with my good friend Kristi Yamaguchi. Over the years, I've seen Kristi interviewed, and often she seems very reserved. As a result, even though we've been friends and competitors for years, I didn't quite know what to expect. But Kristi really opened up to talk about coaches, competing, her husband, and kids, making for a really close-up look at this Olympic champion. So Kristi, this is different. I mean, I've known you for 20 years. I'm aging.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
I know, it's so long. And so, I mean, it's so different to be sitting here in front of cameras and talking. It is different. But 20 years later, I mean, did you think we'd be doing this? And what we want to talk about is like how you got interested, first of all.
Into skating? Oh man. You know, to be honest, it was just seeing the ice shows and loving the performing and the glitz and glamour of it all. So even as just a young kid, like getting a costume and putting that on and going out on the ice is what appealed to me. So I guess the competition and all the competitiveness kind of came along with the territory. And but you know, it's kind of come full circle because now I'm just doing back in the shows again.
Yeah, well, that's why you started, so you love it. But during all the competition, I mean, you were a junior national champion, and
I wasn't.
in pairs.
Was I?
No, you weren't.
Oh, in pairs. Yeah.
In pairs.
I was like,
in pairs, you were junior national champion with Rudy Galindo, and I mean, what a transition! Because you were doing both at the same time when we first competed in 1985. We were both in singles and juniors, and you guys went on to winning the juniors. And then, what made you stop that and concentrate solely on singles?
On singles. It was fun doing the pairs, and we kind of started out as fun, and it was like, oh, you know, you both are so small, you'd be cute together. So I think we were just surprised at some of the success that we did have as a pair team. But you know, we enjoyed it and we had fun, but I think ultimately I knew I was a single skater as well, and it came time to just kind of pick one or the other because competing in both at a world level just was getting too hard. So it was tough, but the single skating directions seemed to be, you know, I knew I didn't want to give that up, so that's the direction I went.
Kristi, you've had so many highlights in this career. I can't even think of a low point. Did you have any low points?
There are definitely highs and lows. So probably the tough period was, I think it's like the year 1999 into 1990 competitive year. You know, Rudy and I were kind of struggling on the ice a little bit. Our coach passed away that year right before the national championships, Jim Hewlick, who started us when we were 11 and 13. So, you know, that kind of left us feeling lost and not having the direction that we were used to. So it was hard, and we kind of went in and competed as well as we could have that year. But I think, you know, just the heart wasn't there anymore. We had just grown apart, our different goals, and after that World Championships, decided to go our separate ways. And yeah, it was a hard decision because we both thought as youngsters starting together that we would, you know, skate forever together and tour and be professional, but you know, things change along the way and you just kind of have to adjust.
What were some of the high points?
Some of the high points, one of the highlights probably was the 1991 World Championships. I mean, it was a fun championships in Munich, and you know, I received my first 6.0 and first world title there. So, you know, I never thought I would ever be receiving a 6.0, so that was just a lot of fun and a surprise. And, you know, it was also fun, the three of us, you mean Tanya, were on the podium together.
No,
so
first sweep.
First U.S.-American sweep, and I think since then that's hasn't happened, I don't think.
No, not for the women, it hasn't, so. Well, it was, I mean, it was exciting. It was a great time, and it's so fun to be able to experience those with you. Being a mom and married to Brett Hedican, I mean, how How was it last year having him home and not being able to play hockey last year? Was that tough, or did it make it easier for you to juggle your skating career?
You know, it did actually help my skating wise because, you know, when Brett was home, he was able to watch Kira while I ran to the rink, then came back, and you know, unfortunately he had some injuries to deal with, but you know, on my side of things, it was so nice to have him home, and so great for Brett and Kira to have that time to really spend together and you know, bond, because usually they're really busy during the year and travel a lot. So we got used to having him home, although he wasn't always in the best mood because he missed the hockey. I mean, everyone did, but it was hard on him, hard on the players, and you know, in December he was still ready to go, thinking the season's going to start. And finally, when he realized it wasn't going to happen, he went back to school, which was good because it gave him something to do, and he was a little bit more out of my hair and happier, I think.
And how is it this year?
This year's a night and day. I mean, he's excited. He wasn't sure if he was even going to be able to come back and play, and you know, he's back on the ice. He loves his team that he's playing with in Carolina, and he's healthy. I mean, as healthy as you can be as a hockey player, getting pounded every night, but he's playing, and so, you know, his happiness level has like gone up tenfold.
I mean, it's the best for me. I love being a mom. It's far superior. It makes skating all second and everything else.
Isn't it true? I mean, it's, you know, yeah, I mean, when you ask about highlights in your life, and it's just like, wow, you know, of course, it's hard for us to separate our identities from the Olympics or whatever skating careers, but ultimately it's like getting married and then the dream of always knowing you're going to be, or wanting to become a mom. And when that finally happens, it's just like, wow, like,
yeah, look at you.
This is a whole new life, and you know, it's like, what's skating? Like, I just want to
you smiling and talking about the skating, and you're all happy, but you bring up Kira and Brett, and you're like lit up more.
Yeah, well, I think most moms are.
Yeah, it's
you
great.
too.
And did you ever think you'd still be skating, or how long do you plan to continue?
It's hard to say. You know, I came back and skated a little after Kira, but you know, after the second, who knows? I love being mom and, you know, being there for them. My mom was home and, you know, stay-at-home mom, and pretty much raised us. So if I can do that as much as I can with our kids, I would love to do it. And it's, you know, I won't disappear from the skating world because I love this, and it's a passion. You know, you just can't let it go. But as far as being on the ice, I'll probably start slowing down quite a bit.
Olympics are coming up, Torino. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the new system? Do you think it'll be a little more difficult? 6.0 system was difficult for people to understand as it was, and so now there's something new. Do you think it'll be even more confusing or more easily to follow?
I think right off the bat it will be more confusing, because even people inside the skating world are still, myself, still learning the system and trying to understand it. But I mean, there are a lot of good things about it, and things that are like, well, you know, who knows, it might get tweaked again before they're really settled on something. But it's good to see that they're open to change and open to helping the sport, you know, overcome some of the things in the past that didn't work. So we'll see how it works, but I think a lot of explanation will have to go on throughout the broadcast of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any picks? Any favorites?
I think, it's so tough. I mean, anyone you talk to with the men's event, it's like wide open. It's like, who is going to go in there and really do it when it counts? Because it's, you know, the difficulty they're all doing is amazing. You know, if Plushenko is in there, then, you know, he's pretty sure lock-in if he shows up healthy. You know, who knows? The women's event, you know, I haven't seen anyone this year yet compete for the season, but I know Irina Slutskaya, coming off of big world championships, is probably very well prepared, and going to be the one to beat.
Randy Gardner and Kristi Yamaguchi. But it was hard not to get excited about interviewing my next guest. What can you say about Brian Boitano that hasn't already been said? At age 42, he continues to defy time by remaining one of the most consistent and focused skaters in the world. In fact, I think the only jump that he's taken out of his routine is the triple axel. Not only is Brian one of the nicest guys in the sport, but he's one of the only ones who can consistently bring the audience and his peers to their feet after one of his flawless performances. So Brian, how old were you when you started skating, and what hooked you into continuing?
Well, I was this daredevil roller skater on the sidewalks of California. And I must have been like 6 or 7 years old. And I would just start doing stuff like, you know, Walsh jumps or whatever on the cement, and it would be like all day long, and my mom would have to call me in for dinner, and then it was nighttime, and then, you know, I would just skate, and I just sort of learned how to roller skate myself. And then my mom took me into San Francisco to the Winterland Coliseum and to see the ice follies. And my mouth was on the floor. I was just like, this is what I want to do. I came home and I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I was hooked ever since then, and I begged my parents to take me ice skating, ice skating, ice skating, and finally they did. And I, you know, after I lapped my dad, you know, like the whole time, like my dad was holding on to the rail, and then I'm like going around, hi dad, hi dad, hi dad. They took me to lessons, like group lessons the next week, and then it was like, there was no looking back.
Oh my gosh. Did you do any other sports at the same time as you were growing up?
I did. In fact, it was very funny. It's sort of my dad was a semi-pro baseball player, and so I was playing baseball in the sort of community league, and my dad was the coach of the team. And there was a conflict after I started skating because our club was at nighttime on Mondays, and that was our baseball practice. So I remember going in and telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, I'm going to just have to quit baseball because, because I got to go ice skating. And so he's like, but I coached the team. I wouldn't have coached the team if you weren't going to play on the team. And I'm like, well, nothing I can do about it. You know, I got to go to club. So that was the end of my baseball career and the end of his hopes of having a son that would be a professional baseball player.
Who was the most influential in your skating career?
Well, I think that probably my coach, Linda, was very influential because we sort of went through, I mean, she started me off. I met her in the group lessons. She was in my 5th group lesson when we were learning 2-foot spins. And I had progressed from, you know, from 1 to 2 each week, each consecutive week I went and I graduated each group lesson, and then I came to 5 and I was doing, she tells a really funny story about how I was trying to do such a fast 2-foot spin that I kept falling and falling and falling. I was getting upset, and she's like, you can pass this class if you just don't try to do it so fast. Do it a little slower and stand up and I'll pass you. And so finally I ended up doing that, and she came after the group lessons and said to my, you know, my parents came to pick me up, and she said, I think that, you know, he should take some private lessons. I think he could be pretty good. So, and then that leads me to my parents, I think, were great because they really just let me do it on my own. They would drop me off at the rink, go home, they'd come back and pick me up. They never stayed at the rink. They never pushed me. If I wanted to quit, I could have quit. It was perfect because I don't think I would have been great with pushy parents.
In your career, you've had a lot of high points. Do you have any low points?
Oh gosh, I have so many low points.
What was the one that stands out?
The one that stands out. I think it was a low point in 1984. It was the first time I made the Olympics in Sarajevo, and I really didn't feel that I was, a lot of times I felt like when I was younger that I was like better than the people above me, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get past him. It's so political that I'll never be able to, it doesn't matter how I skate, so what am I doing this for? So after the Olympics in '84, I sort of reevaluated everything. I'm like, you know, okay, maybe I've made it as far as I'm going to go. I was 5th in that Olympics, and I'm like, maybe I'm not going to go any further. It's going to be really hard politically. And I thought, you know what, like we talked about earlier, you have no control over that. So, you know what, I'm going to not worry about the politics. I love skating. I remember as a kid, I loved skating. I love training. I like going in and being better every day and comparing myself to how I was every day. And it's such a payoff when you skate well under pressure. I mean, it is such a payoff, and so concentrate on that. So, and if I don't make it at, you know, 24 for the second Olympics in '88, then I'll go to school or I'll do something else. I'll figure it out then. But just focus on what you want to do and how you want it to be in your life right now.
Does the high cost of dry
For you, obviously, 88's well documented, the Battle of the Bryans and winning. What were some other highlights for you at the Olympics?
At the Olympics in '88?
Obviously winning.
Winning, that's a hard one to overshadow. The whole experience of '88 was, as such a highlight. I can remember so much of that Olympics. I remember there are certain times in your life when it's a real important time that you can remember the whole week. You know, what you did the whole week, who was in your life that whole week, the interviews that you did, what the Olympic Village looked like, what you ate, who you saw, who you met. And I feel that that whole week around the 1988 Olympics and being in Calgary was like that. I met a lot of different athletes, which was really exciting. You know, Dan Jansen and Bonnie Blair, and it was like these were superstars, you know, and I was like getting to meet them and like root for them and go to their events and stuff like that. And it was really cool because you were in this Olympic Village and you were separated from the whole outside world and separated from Americans because I was in Canada. So you were sort of in this little nucleus that was very protective. It's just a fun situation, things that you probably couldn't do now. I mean, we shared one apartment with the entire team of guys and we had one bathroom and the girls were across the hallway. All the girls were in one apartment with one bathroom and I was like, how can ice skating girls all share one bathroom? I was like, I need to be a video camera in there. And it was just little things like that, and it's just, you still bring them up to your teammates all the time now, you know, when you see them, and it's just memories that are locked in forever. I'm sure that people create those kind of memories in college. Well, the Olympics was sort of like my college, I think.
And you've had an amazing career as a professional, but also taking on new roles for you as being a producer of shows. How is that different for you?
Well, you know, I started trying to produce shows because the stuff that was I was being approached with stuff that I was like, okay, it sounds okay, but I don't really, I mean, you know, because you do your own shows too. It's really so fun to come up with sort of a concept, be in control of it, decide where the money's going to be spent, you know, decide what's going to be done on the ice. It's like an open palette. And that's why I started producing stuff, because I just wanted to do at least one project each year that I sort of had control over and I could, you know, have a say in how it was done artistically.
But is it really difficult? I mean, I found when I started doing that, I think Halloween on Ice was my first one, and I was going from practices to production meetings and back to practices. I would like miss dinner because I was always in some meeting or on the ice or doing something. So it was really, I found it really hard at first. I mean, now it's a little easier, but back then it was really a new
because you probably
challenge.
hand it off to other people now too. I mean, when I remember the first project that I did in '95, because I think we've done a lot now. I think we've done 15 or 16, you know,
And
TV
I've been
shows.
lucky enough to be in some of them.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
exactly. And the first one I did, I had to do, the guy that did the costumes bailed at the last minute, so I was like dyeing costumes, I was doing costumes, and I was doing...
Yourself.
I was exhausted, I was choreographing it, I was directing it, I did everything, and after that one I was like fried, and I thought, I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to just, you know, make sure that I hire people to sort of take over all those kind of things. And even when you have people that take care of those things, you know, producing it, actually hands-on producing it, you still are involved in a lot of question-answer kind of things, and it's exhausting. It does take it out of you. But yet, I think that the product that comes out of it is more of what you know, want to be involved in.
With the Olympics coming up soon in Torino, I mean, it's only a few weeks away, really, and do you think that the new scoring system is going to have much effect on the results?
You know, I am a little naive, and I'm not very up on what the new scoring system is like. From what I have seen and what I've heard from other skaters, I think it's a tough one. There's not a lot of support for the scoring system that I've seen. I haven't seen or heard of anybody or seen anybody that has gone, wow, this is a great system, I really like it, it's this. I've heard from skaters who are elite skaters and, you know, groups of our contemporaries, you know, professional skaters, saying that there are a lot of improvements that can be made. I think the thing that's going to really hurt it is I think the 6.0 system is really important for the American public. I think measuring everything and having a face to go with that score, you know, why 5.8? Why did the Czech, or you know, the Canadian judge give the American, you know, 5.8 when the, you know, Australian judge gave him a 6.0. I mean, they really
Those
loved
questions
doing
were
that.
never answered.
Those questions were never answered, but it was, I think it was part of the drama.
Right.
You know, and now, and even me, while I'm watching, you know, some of these shows on TV, the skating shows, and I'm like, 294.32. I don't even know what's good, you know, and it says personal best, and well, what was there other? I don't get it. It's a little confusing to me, and maybe it's just because I don't know about the scoring system, but. It does seem like there have been changes, though. It does seem like that it's maybe more well-rounded, but I don't know. It remains to be seen.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Wow, yeah. This is a
Right
tough
on the
one.
spot. Do you have any predictions, or do you have any favorites?
Wow. I think this Olympics is going to be a tough one. I really don't have any predictions, especially in women, because I feel like in the last few years, it hasn't been sort of consistent women coming up the ranks, like getting ready to like sort of seize that opportunity. It's always been surprise people who have like come up within 1 year and just like blown everybody away. And I think that now there's a group of girls, they're young girls, you know, that are sort of can blow anyone away, especially I think with probably the new judging system too. There are some really young girls that could be spoilers to the older ones. I think, I don't know how Michelle's Kwan's doing, but you know, certainly her experience has to be working for her, as well as Arina Slutskaya. You know, I think that those two girls have a lot. I love seeing the women aspect of people competing in the Olympics. So I think it's a really important quotient. So we'll see, but I think it's going to be probably the really interesting event of the Olympics. For the men, I don't know. It's nobody's really sort of taken, at least the American men, nobody's really taken the reins and really controlled the year. So it's been an up and down thing for all the guys. I think Plushenko is going to be really hard to beat for the men. I think it's going to be a Russian champion.
I hope you've enjoyed our presentation of Reflections Off the Ice. Talking to my friends brought back a lot of memories and made me realize one of the true benefits of skating, the great people that you meet while you're pursuing your dreams on the ice. A big thanks to Ty, Randy, Kristi, and Brian for being part of this show. I'm Nancy Kerrigan. Thanks for watching.